Welcome to Get On With It, Inspiration for Life and Leadership. I'm your host, Sue MacArthur, President of Strategic Talent Management. We've all met them, the people who have a presence and a unique point of view that make us want to lean in and say, tell me more. In this podcast, we celebrate these people and provide a platform through which they can share their insights. Whether you lead a company, a community organization, or just your own life, we offer you these moments of clarity, hope, and inspiration. So let's get on with it. I'm very happy to have my friend Karley Cunningham with me for this episode. Karley is the big thinker and growth strategist at Big Bold Brand, where she fuels entrepreneurial fire and helps purpose-driven CEOs build a brand-led competitive advantage, stand out in crowded markets, and scale with certainty. As a keynote speaker, strategic advisor, and former pro athlete, she brings high-performance energy and grounded business smarts to every stage. Her approach is bold, practical, and designed to move leaders into uncontested space with confidence. That is a lot. Welcome, Karley.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be back with you, Sue.
Yes. So when we saw each other recently, we got talking about your practice of tiny marketing actions. And you have said that they saved your business. I want to learn more about this. This seems like a small habit that seems to have had an outsized impact on your success. So break that down for me. How did it come to be and what does it mean?
It's quite the story. And if we're talking outsized impact, I'll be transparent to say I also believe that tiny marketing actions may have saved my life.
Wow.
And what was going on at the time is, so for context, both my wife and I were working in the business. She had joined me after needing to take a break from her career in education, and I needed help at the time, and so it was a good place for her to jump in because she's excellent at executing a visionary's, the visionary strategy and the vision and taking it into the operations and building the steps and the processes. And for me, that was gold. And so we had experienced 2 to 3 years where the company kept growing. We were up leveling. We were seeing about 10 to 15% growth year over year. And while that's not 10xing for a small business, that's some pretty good consistent results. And so working with great clients, having a lot of fun with what we were doing, refining systems so that the clients that weren't fit for us were, we were able to exit them out of the company and find our groove. And because we had so many great clients, I was spending a ton of time in the business versus on the business, and including I was in charge of business development, but I consider that to be in a way the on the business. It kind of transitions between in and on the business. And so because I was doing so much production, I wasn't out doing the networking that I usually did. I wasn't leading sales as strongly as I had typically done. And what's interesting is I knew better, but I was so engaged with our clients and excited about serving them, I somehow justified that in my head. And on the personal side of things, because we were having really good trajectory, is Elise and I made a decision that we were going to buy a bigger home for ourselves. And in the space on the North Shore at the foot of the mountains where we'd always wanted to. So we had set the intention and we were chasing the dream. And it seemed like almost instantaneously when we signed the contract and the deal was done. Now it was a pre-sale, so we had a couple years, we had some buffer, but it felt like all of a sudden that flicked a switch. And I'm sure it was just a perfect storm of, timing. The company started to go backwards in revenue and the pipeline went dry. And, everything I've told you, those who are no biz dev, they're like, yeah, no kidding. Because you weren't focusing on moving people into the pipeline. You weren't focused on nurturing your network. You weren't focused on driving sales. And so we hit an all-time low in the business. And as the founder of the company, I took that all onto my own shoulders. I felt fully responsible. And with this pending larger purchase in our life, with both of us in the business, we essentially had all our eggs in one basket. And that really weighed on me. I have always been challenged with anxiety, and I did not know that with too much pressure, too much going on, there was also some family stuff going on. I was secondary caregiver to my little sister who was fighting a brutal battle with cancer. And so, with all of that, my anxiety flipped into depression.
Hmm.
And for me, and I want to talk a little bit about that because I don't think I wasn't aware, one, that that could happen. Two, I'd never heard anybody describe depression as you emotionally flatline. It's like someone ripped my heart and my creative brain out of me, and I felt very robotic and I was non-reactionary to a lot of things. I wasn't getting excited about things, and it just, the tension and things just kept getting worse. And because I wasn't feeling emotions, there were no alarm bells going off in me that there was anything wrong.
Hmm.
And Elisa turned to me one day and she goes, "So, do I have to worry about you offing yourself?"
Wow.
Right? But that wasn't my reaction. Literally, my left brain went, hmm. And this is what came out of my mouth because I'm an external processor. I went, huh. Well, I haven't thought about how I do it. So I think we're okay.
Oh my goodness.
Right? And I mean, you know me, I'm an emotional person. I can be, I can be dramatic at times because I'm so passionate about so many things and people and their stories and my business and helping people. And I was just flat. And thankfully, there was this little voice that felt like it was hollering from a cavern somewhere deep in my soul that was like, and it's funny because as a mountain biker, there's a certain dialect that we speak in. So I know it was authentic because it was like, dude, you're scaring the heck out of your wife. Get your stuff together.
Hmm.
And thank God for that little voice.
Right.
And so that was the turning point for me to one, seek help. Two, Elise sought me out an amazing business coach who I know you know, Pamela Slim. And
Hmm.
so really it was about rebuilding my confidence as the leader of the business and the leader of our family in a way. I mean, I had taken that on my shoulders, whether that was the core truth nail. I mean, Elise is just as strong as me, but I felt so responsible because it was the business that I founded, that I built, and it wasn't succeeding. Plus, I am the salesperson of the business. And so it was unraveling that narrative. But what Pam did is she metaphorically rolled me in the business into the ER to perform some triage to figure out what was going on. And what was going on is essentially our pipeline had dried up. I wasn't active. So I have this slide when I do this presentation, and it's of a marketplace, and there's just nothing but tumbleweeds rolling through it. I mean, that's effectively what was going on in the business. And so Pam knew, given the state I was in, that she couldn't put a ton more pressure on me. She had to nurture me back bit by bit, right? Like you don't continue to stress out a body if it's in trauma and physical trauma. I'm saying if we're using the ER metaphor, is you gradually bring things back. And that's what she did with me. And she admits now, and didn't admit to me at the time, she was like, well, we need to try something. So let's try tiny actions. And that was I was her test pilot for the thing in her book, The Widest Net, that she calls tiny marketing actions. And so we started doing tiny marketing actions, which were simple steps to reaching out to my network, sending an email saying, "Hey client, we haven't spoken in a while. What's good with you? What's going on? Would love to hear." Reconnecting with folks in my network who I knew were supportive of me. So that would build me up, and connecting with them for coffee or happy hours and just little tiny actions. And so I also am a gold star child. When I was a kid, my mom to get me to learn and do activities and books pre kindergarten. She would give me gold stars for completing a page. So I know I'm driven by that. I'm driven by now what I know to be that hit of dopamine. So I
Hmm.
set a goal of doing 5 tiny marketing actions 4 days of the week. I mean, you could say 5, but let's take the pressure off. Sometimes you're not in the office to do them, so why put that amount of pressure on? So I started doing 5 tiny marketing actions 4 days a week. And jump forward several years because it started working and I continued to do it. I can look back because I've tracked them. And if I'm doing 60 plus tiny marketing actions, I also added on to that. I now do 5 to 6 in-person coffee meetings, or if it's virtual, but one-on-ones with folks in my network. I now try and do at least one thought leadership, being seen, being visible activity a week, whether it's a video, whether it's sharing podcast interviews, whether it's stepping on a stage. And so I started to build on the tiny marketing actions because I had the capacity to do more. But because I was tracking it, I laid it out in a graph and you could literally see it would, and I'm drawing this, but if you imagine 2 dots rising with the number of tiny marketing actions and the amount of business that was coming in, follow like trailing it by about a month. But as I do more tiny marketing actions, business increases. As I do less, and that's the catch for me to never go back to that place where I'm not nurturing my network. If I
Hmm.
drop, so does revenue, so do projects. So tiny marketing actions were the thing that turned me and my business around. And they are a core of my marketing strategy now.
That's an amazing story
Thank
and a
you.
great success. And
Thankfully,
yes, yes,
right?
absolutely. So you practice TMA
Hmm.
with clients and colleagues, but this seems to be something that could easily be applied in a recruiting situation or building a stronger employer brand, couldn't it?
100%. Could be for retention as well.
Hmm. Right. So t- give me some examples of the things that you do in your tiny marketing actions.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I said, one of the things that I do is I intentionally pay attention to who my strategic partners are. And I'm now putting them into a database. And I look at when was the last time I contacted them. And if it's been 8 to 12 weeks, or if it's someone who I know I need to be in touch with more, I keep track of when that last touch point was, and I'll send them an article, something interesting, something helpful, or I'll just reach out and say, what's good?
Right.
I'd love to know. And so I call that a kit, which is keep in touch, tiny marketing action. The other thing that I do is typically 2 or 3 mornings a week before I dive into my day, I'll go on LinkedIn and I comment on people's posts who are in my network, who I want to keep in touch with, or who I want to build a relationship with. Um, as I said, I'll post some thought leadership. I will post an article. I will post a clip of a podcast interview. I'm going to work on the keynote that I delivered. I'm going to cut that into clips. What else do I do? Coffee meetings. Not a tiny marketing action, but really helpful on the keep in touch is I launched a event called Casual Fridays. So I live in North Vancouver, and the only way to get here is over 2 bridges. So for those of us who live and work in North Vancouver, getting to an event in the afternoon really sucks. I mean, it's literally 7K to downtown, so that would be what, 4.5 miles, and it can take you an hour. So I got
Wow.
tired of doing this tour of bridges once in a while, or taking an hour to get down there, because when I would drive home, it would take me, I don't know, 15 minutes. But
Mm.
sometimes traffic would be so bad that I would drive over one of the bridges and then just end up driving past the event and going back over the other bridge to home because it had taken me so long I'd missed the majority of the event and I wasn't
Oh,
going to
yeah.
show up with 15 minutes left. So I
Right.
started an event. It's called Casual Fridays that I have co-hosts for. And we host that every 6 to 8 weeks. So for my strategic partner, those folks that could potentially refer me, and also to build community here on the North Shore. There's a lot of folks who live here, and it's easy to leave work early and go to a networking event on a Friday, hang out with
Right.
some great folks, and head home. So those are my some of my TMAs.
That's awesome. I know that you often work with your clients to build ideal target customer client profiles.
Hmm.
How could we apply that same approach? It doesn't happen very often, but building a target employee audience.
Hmm.
Translate that for me.
Yeah. So just to clarify for my marketing brain folks, these are also called ICPs, ideal client profiles. But I changed the name to ideal target audience profiles because your clients aren't your only audience,
Mhm.
right? And so you've got your ideal strategic referral partner audience profile. You've got your ideal team member profile. And one of the first times that I did this was with one of our retail clients because they bring in a lot of co-op intern students out of a kinesiology program. So they're the name of their store is The Right Shoe. And so they specialize in hard to fit feet, foot issues, athletes, people who are on, or even workers, people who are on their feet a lot and might find that challenging in some way, or just in general have mobility issues. And so, super smart strategy on their part is they bring in kinesiology students who understand the motion and the way that the lower part of the body works, so they're able to better speak to the questions and challenges that their customers are having. And they also know that they can refer to podorthists or podiatrists, and they refer to them. So for the kin students, these ideal team members, this is great practice. The ability to take everything that they're learning in university and actually put it into practice. And they also get to build sales skills. And so we knew that these folks cycle through quite often, and some of them stay. I mean, some of them have become their best managers, which is
Mhm.
the retainment part of it. But we knew that they had to market to them, aka recruit as well. So we built out an ideal target audience profile and answered the same questions,
Mhm.
which are there's key questions, which are what are the problems and challenges we solve for our ideal team member, aka kin student. Now that's just one of their staff members. There's others that they,
Right.
need full-time regulars, but if we just focus on this because it is quite niche, what are the problems they're solving? Well, they're providing an opportunity to apply their knowledge and gain work experience as well as learn to sell. I mean,
Mhm.
that's a pretty unique combo. Those folks aren't going to say, most of them aren't going to say, I want to learn to sell, but they want to apply their experience and
Mhm.
they want a great job on their resume because they need to start building their job experience. What's the transformation? The next question is, what is the desired transformation of this team member? Well, there's an opportunity to learn and grow.
Mhm.
And then we want to look at ideal mindset. Well, what does an ideal kin student look like for us? Well, they like to work with people. They're excited about our products. They
Mhm.
want to be a part of a team. They're interested in they could be interested in learning about business. They could be interested in learning about sales, or at least they're open to it. And so we're identifying why they would want to work for the right shoe, but we're also identifying what does an ideal candidate look like for us.
Mhm. If you could change one thing about how people approach engagement with their target audiences, whether they're customers, employees, strategic partners, what is a common mistake that you see that you wish people would
Hmm.
change?
Hmm. Well, the first thing that popped into my mind is once you've built that profile, it's really easy to see people inside the box, if you will. It's really easy to, and stereotype's not the right word, but I think you'll jam with me when I say you just start to talk to them as if they're all this cardboard cutout of this person. Um, but it's going beyond that and creating that one-on-one human relationship and finding out what they're passionate about. And going right back to the right shoe, one thing that the leaders and owners there are really great at is identifying what their staff members are passionate about and what they're great at.
Mhm.
They do get some part-time staffers, and as an example, one of their part-time staffers was an actor and
Mm.
also passionate about their products. So they set him loose on creating some social media clips for them and creating short videos. And he was fabulous, especially around high sales times, Christmas and, having themes. He was fabulous at
Mhm.
that. Another one of their team members was really passionate about collectors' sneakers. So while not necessarily their ideal audience, it was an opportunity for him to bring a new audience because they do bring in some of the rare brands because of the brand relationships that they have and because they are such a niche and leader in their space. Brands like Hoka, brands like Nike, even Danskin, or actually Birkenstock is one of their top products, is Birks will give them a number of a very hard to get piece. So this person that was passionate about collectibles and brand, that was his jam, and he could speak to that and develop content for them with that.
We often don't, when we have people on our team, we often don't dig deeper and find
Mm-mm.
their hidden talents. We don't even ask them.
No,
So,
no, and I think that's my complaint across the board in general when I take clients through our Surefire method to build their core strategy and the core strategic tools they need to build a business that's going to grow and scale and thrive, is I see too many businesses tick the boxes of, oh yeah, our purpose statement is done. Oh yeah, our values are done. And they throw up, 4, 5, 6, 12 words that are supposed to be their values.
mhm.
I think in business, if you want a company that's going to thrive, you need to go deeper to understand all of the core and key people in your ecosystem, because then you can build those deep relationships. Then you can have those conversations to say, hey, Jose, talk to me about what you're passionate about. And how can we leverage that in the business? How can we make that fun for you? How can we make work a place that you want to come to because you have these specific interests?
I'd like to shift gears a little bit
Mhm.
and talk more about you and your thoughts and your plans. Um, so, my first question along those lines is, what is something that you're good at that you never expected to be good at?
I would say building community.
Mm.
My natural interest in people and their stories and what lights them up. I rarely ever start a conversation at a networking event that's like, hey, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think I said it to you this morning. I'll say, hey, what's good with you?
Right.
Or I'll say, talk to me about the things that light you up outside of work.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can pleasantly surprise people with a different question, it just opens up a deeper level conversation and expressing that interest. And so I've realized that my interest in people and their stories is really good at helping me also connect them to like-minded people, whether
Mm-hmm.
that be for, hey, I'm looking for someone else to mountain bike or sail with here in Vancouver, or hey, I really need a strategic partner that is connected into X, Y, and Z networks. And
Mm-hmm.
so by connecting people, you're actually weaving community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that I, discovered years ago and have leveraged.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you have a background as an athlete.
Hmm.
Tell me more about that, but tell me how that has shaped the way you lead today.
So, for context, I became an athlete very, very early. My parents put me in figure skating. I happened to be good at it, and it went from there. And I was quickly chosen to be one of the next top pairs figure skaters in the world and be, I can't think of another word other than groomed. I hate using that word these days, but
Yeah,
that was the right. Yeah. But being trained, and that was the trajectory that the club wanted me on. And so what that provided for me, and now I know that I also I have ADHD. I often wonder what kind of kid I would be like if I didn't have the structure of
mm,
figure skating. And it was incredibly demanding at a very early age. And I was at the rink by the time, I mean, I'm going to say 8, 9 years old. I was at the rink 2 or 3 mornings a week. I was at the rink 2 or 3 nights a week. I was at the rink on Saturdays. And in the summer, I would participate in a summer camp, and I think it was pretty much for the whole summer, where my mom would drop me off at the arena at on her way to work, and I would be there all day on ice, off ice, meditation practice, visualization practice, stretch practice, strength practice, lots of stuff going on. And of course, when you've got a bunch of kids in the arena, you got to keep them busy. And so, but there was also free time, so I would read, and I would have to find things to do that were safe. I mean, we grew up in a very much safer time, um, but I always had structure. I always had things planned for me and things to do. And then when I moved on from figure skating into equestrian, again, very structured, high expectation sport. I rode hunter jumper, I rode dressage, and so taking responsibility for the animal that you were riding and making sure they were well groomed and taking care of the tack. And then I worked in the barns. So everything I've done all the way through to my mountain biking career, where I rode pro elite and had a Canadian ranking, it all involved structure. And so for me, my ability to be a great leader relies on me developing structure. Because without that structure, I have a Ferrari brain. They describe it as a Ferrari brain with bicycle brakes.
oh,
And yeah, right. And it
that's a
comes up with
visual.
all these brilliant, amazing ideas. And so I have to be very careful not to squirrel, shiny object syndrome. And
Mhm.
so for me, I am always building systems and structures and frameworks. And as a leader, I get really excited about passing those on and teaching others. And as our friend Susan Beyer says, being relentlessly helpful, and
Right.
and just giving that information away so that others can use it and take advantage of things that have been built. And I also have a very strong belief is that you can't be what you can't see. And so that's why I share my tiny marketing actions story. And I'm very open about, yeah, my wife asked me, do I have to worry about you committing suicide? And those words are really hard to say, especially for someone who's been a high performer, who, there's a lot of shoulds been placed on you. You should be the
Mhm.
leader. You should be this. You shouldn't. And figure skating was an interesting one because it taught me, no, you don't let people see you frustrated. You don't let people see you cry if you have a bad result. You don't let people see your pain if you go over on your ankle you finish your routine, you turn to the judges, you curtsy, you turn to the audience, you curtsy, and you skate off that ice with a smile on your face. And that builds a very toxic culture. No, no, everything's fine. It's all good. Or the startup culture of the we're killing it culture is,
Mhm.
it damages other people who are like, well, why am I not killing it? Why am I not acing it? And so I think what sport taught me was also being transparent about the work that it takes, the things that can go wrong. Yeah, it hurts when you fall off your mountain bike,
Mhm. It
but you get
does.
back on and it still hurts, but you keep pedaling,
Right. That
right? So it's
resilience is important.
resilience. Yeah. And so but sharing the truth of the emotions and the truth of the journey, because as we all know, well, as most of us at this age know, no success is overnight.
Yeah.
So let's start being real about our realities and our challenges.
Mm. What's a commonly held belief with which you disagree when it comes
Well,
to
there's
leadership?
there's lots. Oh, leadership. Okay, leadership. Well, I'm
let's
gonna.
let's narrow that
It was
down
like,
because we could go off.
here, yeah,
We could go off
and
on
here
some
we go. Yep.
tangents.
So from a leadership perspective, because of I want to go into my expertise because I've just done a research study. And when I work with leaders, my work is centered on building a great business and brand strategy. Business strategy, leaders know that's their responsibility. However, brand strategy, building their brand, gets offloaded to the marketing department. Specifically, I'm talking about building your company brand, your reputation, and your exposure. And when I say it that way, what it changes people's mindset. And what I learned from the research was, I think it's upwards of 68 or 80%. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but a very high number of business owners say, absolutely, we care about our company's reputation. We want to have a great reputation because we know it helps bring in customers, set us apart, attract employees, attract strategic partners, keep people. But here's the thing, when it comes to brand, they aren't investing in it, they aren't owning it, they aren't leading it, and they aren't living it. And so that's where the disconnect comes in. And that is caused by most leaders told us in the survey that they still believe that brand is their logo, their fonts, their colors, AKA their visual brand identity. Some said it was their messaging. Very few said it was their strategy and their positioning.
Mm,
So most folks are looking at it as visuals, signals, and narrative. And it is so much more than that. So if we think about it as the equation, your brand is created by your reputation multiplied by your exposure. My belief is that that needs to live in the leadership house.
mhm.
Owners need to develop it, they need to own it, they need to live it, and they need to be responsible for it. And then everybody in their business needs to be held to account to help build it and nurture it.
Right. And live it themselves.
100%.
Well, if you had unlimited resources and time, what is a project or a passion that you'd like to pursue?
Hmm. I'll stay on the business thread. I would love to do nothing more than travel and teach people what I've learned about brand, reputation, and exposure to help companies build stronger businesses, to help them become a term that I use is brand driven, because
Mm-hmm.
I know that brand is so underestimated. Strategy is so underestimated. And when you can develop brand at the strategic level, it becomes a business driving engine for your business.
Mm-hmm.
And in my calculations, most who are investing in their brand because they're investing in the tactics, the visual, the messaging, they're only getting a 5 to 25% return.
Mm,
And if we put that contextually into leaders and companies attracting ideal talent, it's probably less because folks aren't really thinking about, well, how can we leverage our brand and our reputation and the exposure that we are or aren't getting in the realm of recruitment, in the realm of company culture and our reputation as an employer. I don't think enough folks are leveraging that alone. Imagine what would happen with your business if you attracted more top talent
mm-hmm.
and retained them.
Right. Could be a game changer.
100%.
You always have a lot of irons in the fire. What's next for you?
Getting my thought leadership out to the world in the form of the report, which will share everything, not everything, it will share the major aspects of what we learned, and I will be gradually sharing everything through socials and content. So if folks are interested in that, I will send you a link where they can sign up and get access to the report. They can get access to the study results that they can play with in real time, and they can follow along in the journey if they'd like to and learn more from me based on what did the research tell us? What do I think about the research told us with regards to leaders and owners of businesses and how they can leverage that? And then I'm also working on turning that all into a book to help build stronger businesses.
Wonderful. To wrap things up, what's the biggest takeaway you hope listeners will pay attention to from all of the things we talked about today? If they only remember one thing after they sign
Mhm.
off, what do you want them to take with them?
If you're a business owner or leader, I want you to consider the equation that I shared. Reputation multiplied by exposure equals your business's brand. And with that, think about what is our reputation? Evaluate it. Is it where we want it to be? And if it is, great. Then then move to exposure. And are you getting enough exposure? And that exposure can be is our team talking about us? Are they talking about us in a consistent manner? Are we getting enough referrals? Are we asking for referrals? Are our clients so wowed with us that they can't help but talk about us? The same with everyone in our ecosystem, everyone that we touch. Are we fulfilling on our brand promise to get the exposure that we want and need? If your reputation isn't what you want it to be, meaning people aren't echoing back what you want them to say about your business, because your brand is also what people say about you when you're not in the room, dig in and do some work.
Mm-hmm.
Get those strategic tools and pieces in place so that people are saying what you want them to say about your business and they're talking about you a lot.
Great. Very good advice. It's been so awesome to have you on the podcast. You've given me a lot to think about, and I know our listeners as well. We'll be providing the link to your research in the show notes. So if you're out there and wanting to learn more about that, we will provide that for you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
being such a great
Karley.
host.
Always happy to chat with you, and I appreciate you joining me today.
Cheers.
If you'd like to connect with Karley and learn more from this incredibly smart woman, I encourage you to reach out to her on LinkedIn, and we'll provide that link in the show notes. Thank you for joining me for this episode. Until next time.